There's nothing to fear but fear herself, or fear itself. Either or works in this case. Fear Street Part 3, 1666 is a Netflix original directed once again by Leah Janiak, directing this final film in a trilogy based on the work of R.L. Stine, and this tells the origin story of Sarah Fear. That's been the overarching villain, so to speak, in the 1994 movie and 1978. And if you've seen my previous reviews, I enjoyed the 1994 movie mostly, but I felt the comedy was a bit of a misfire and there was a little less cohesion than there was in Part 2, which was a pretty damn good slasher, and then basically takes us right into this one. And within the first 30 to 40 minutes of the first movie, I figured out, since they mentioned the character Sarah Fear, I instantly went back to the Cheerleader Saga, that series of books that was pretty goddamn up and down, and really didn't need to go 5 fucking books, but it is what it is. R.L. Stine probably made a shit ton of money doing that. But I was a little bit worried how they were going to finish this story up. And unfortunately, my worst fears, so to speak, if you'll see what I did there, were realized. This was a pretty weak wrap-up to a trilogy. Now, I won't say that it was totally bad, but there were some issues. Now, the entire cast returns in different roles and everything, but then in the same roles that they were, same as they ever were. And previously on Fear Street, I'll get into spoilers here in a little bit, by the way, but we get previously on Fear Street recaps of, stuff from 1994, 1978, and then slam us right into 1666, because at the conclusion of the previous movie, Dina is suddenly back in 1666 in the body of Sarah Fear. Oh no, holy shit, what the hell's going on? Is this like an antebellum situation? No, this is better than antebellum, because antebellum was kind of absolutely motherfucking shit. So she is Sarah Fear, and everybody is in the town of Union, and it's a small village and everything, and since it's 1666 and you have the witchcraft stuff and everybody doesn't know anything except how to follow the word of God to the point that they want to kill their fellow neighbor if they look at them the wrong way, or even smell at them the wrong way, because people were weird like that. It's a good thing religion doesn't poison people's minds to this day. Oh, wait. Anyway, everybody was doing really bad UK and Irish accents, and look, actually, I take that back. It's not even necessarily the accents were bad, but it's just this felt very padded. For the first bit, I was like, okay, I'm a little bit worried that this is going to be lazy. It's not going to be like The Witch. I mean, I didn't expect it to be like The Witch. But it's not going to be like a pretty good period piece around this time. No, it's going to be a little bit phoned in. And then it got more phoned in. And the problem is since I know enough about the work of R.L. Stine, and I instantly thought that Cheerleader Saga series, I knew where the story was going to go, so nothing really shocked me. And this felt very generic. Like they probably could have cut out a few minutes of this movie and you wouldn't have missed shit. People said lines like, or a particular couple said lines, a full moon rises before the nightfall, a good night to enjoy the fruits of the land, about 20 million times in the first 5 minutes. Actually, I think it was only about 10, but still, it was endlessly repeated. I'm like, okay, yes, we fucking get it. It's a code. They're going to have a campfire thing. They're going to dance into the campfire, and that doesn't work. So, there was a drunk guy in an outhouse, which kind of was, symbolic of how this movie was going to be perceived, and it turns out basically that all that stuff from, with Dina and Sam, how they were gay in their, in 1994, I mean, they still are, but how that happened, well, it turns out that this was an ancestral thing, or ancestral, I really got to be careful saying that, and they were, and her and Sarah and a girl, Hannah, played by the same actresses in 1994, were together. Well, naturally, since it's, in the 1600s, obviously, gay relationships are perceived well, except they aren't. They're witches, they're sinners, they're heathens, and therefore they must be hung. That's how things work. That's how you treat your fellow human being. Well, it turns out that, we see what happens, like this pact with the devil, like suddenly things start going really goddamn south. What the hell is going on? Like, why is the fruit rotted? Why are animals turning on each other? Why is the village turning on each other? What the hell is going on here? And Sarah basically gets framed, because it turns out that there's actually something else going on. Because, of course, obviously, I'd be shocked if there wasn't, somebody else way above that. And then somebody else even above that. And it just goes on and on into infinity. So it turns out that Sarah actually did stuff basically to save the woman that she loves. And wasn't actually evil. Or maybe she was. Who the fuck knows, in all honesty? Actually, it's a pretty simple story. They just try to make it more complicated than it is. And then once that basically gets wrapped up, and we find out what happened to Sarah. We slam back into 1994, Part 2, Electric Boogaloo, so it should have been Fear Street 1666 / 1994 Part 2, which would have been a really wordy title. So I guess I understand why they went with 1666. But they went, even after the recaps, it was like an hour, and then they went to the 1994 part. I mean, I'm sorry to do a little bit of a spoiler there, but that's just so you know it doesn't entirely take place, because they got to wrap up this whole goddamn story. And then Dina has to tell everybody, and they have to come up with a concoction to try and take down this ultimate evil and save the town of Shadyside. That's basically it right there. The writing is not nearly as crisp, and the music is by Marco Beltrami, so that's obviously why the music's good, because he did the music for the Scream movies, as well as other stuff. They do have a few songs in the 1994 part, like Offspring, come out and play, and a few others that I believe came out either in 94 or before 94. I didn't write them down like in previous movies, because since most of this was in the 1600s, I couldn't really, place any of that music. I was like, no, that's just, classical type music and everything, because there was no lyrical stuff, except maybe in the occasional stage play. I assume. I wasn't there. I'm old, not that old. So, from there, this plan has to be concocted, and can they save the town of Shadyside? Well, will there be a sequel hook? Will pigs fall from the goddamn sky? Will pigs fly? Will you be writing that check down, sir? No, I prefer not to. So, from there, we basically go back to, we go back to 1994, and we just figure out what's going to happen, and will these characters survive? Will no one survive? As Tommaso Ciampa's song said. No, we just find out basically that everything just wraps around, that everybody's all related, and that the guy that we all thought was evil, or the person maybe we all thought was evil, maybe there's more people, turns out that they were the actual evil person, and they really didn't do a very good job trying to convince us otherwise. And anybody that's seen a goddamn slasher would have figured out who the fuck the actual evil person was from the very beginning. So yeah, that's really all I got to say about that. So this doesn't get a high recommendation. I'm going to give my grade here, and then I'll give my grade a little bit later, just in case some people miss them. I'm giving it a C, because there was some decent stuff, but it's a serious downgrade from the others. So definitely getting a C. Now I'm going to get into spoilers. So spoilers. Okay. So Sarah and Hannah are together, and there's this drunk guy in the outhouse who says, "I see the darkness in you, girl." Everybody doing really bad accents here, and the locations were pretty, that much I'll say. That's really about the only positive I have. Nothing good comes from those woods after nightfall. All right, there we go. Maybe they get splinters in places that they didn't even know they had. So these girls go to the woods, including Sarah, played by Dina. But I mean, obviously it's the actress, but she's possessing the body of Sarah. And they go see Widow Mary to trade berries and this kind of stuff, but no, she's not there, so they go through her stuff. That's something you do when you go to somebody's house. That works out, especially in the middle of the woods. There's a witchy book, a simple exchange. Oh no, it's the devil stuff, the mark of the devil. Gee, who's doing this stuff? Could it be Widow Mary? Could it be the one other guy that's clearly, obviously the villain, even though he tries to not be the villain? Yeah, they're dancing around the campfire, and then being gay in the 1600s would have been bold, but you know what? You can't help who you love as long as you're consenting adults. So Sarah starts to feel weird after this, weird night tryst and, dalliance and whatever the fuck words they used back then. Devilish noises. The pig that they have on the farm, that her and her brother, same brother as before, the guy that plays Josh. The mother pig ate the baby pig. That's some pig, and she axes the mother. That was kind of funny. So, also, Hannah senses that her father, who's a pastor, is acting really weird. What's going on with him? Gee, could it be possible that he is possessed? Huh? Who's being targeted? So there's also this guy Solomon. Gee, with a name like Solomon, he can't possibly be evil, except he is, and he liked He liked Sarah, and he wants to save her, basically, because being gay is immoral, in quotations. Sarah's mother, basically, she convinced her family to, sell on this land in Union, and it becomes Shadyside, food's rotted, all this. The mother pig's eating the baby pig, she gets axed, and then Sarah talks to a close friend, and Well, Hannah wasn't just a dalliance. I actually love her, even though she didn't say that. And he, he's still trusting Sarah. And then the pastor, Hannah's father, is possessed, traps a bunch of kids in the goddamn church, and gouges their eyes out, including his own. He's still alive, and then basically he ends up getting stabbed with a rake. It's back when you could just rake people and yards and not really miss a beat in life. So have a town hall meeting. She's a witch. She's a witch. She's a witch. I saw her do all this stuff and everything, and naturally they work everybody up into a frenzy. People start hunting Sarah. They hunt Hannah. They find Hannah pretty easily. I saw Hannah Miller and Sarah Fear, even though I think only one person did, and the guy actually spread it. And even Solomon's like, no, you didn't see this stuff. Even though he was the one that saw it, because we see that a little bit later. So which witch was which? Hannah gets captured, and Sarah says, well, you don't, as I was told, you don't summon the devil by chance. You have to make a choice. If they want a witch, I'll give them a witch. But which witch was which? Was it a sandwich? So the old widow's dead. She got killed. Sarah ends up finding out that after going to Solomon's house, she hides in the underground. And since there's the caves, Solomon was the one that did the devil's mark and has the name's mark, and he's actually evil. And then one person he has to sacrifice one person every few years to have prosperity for his family and also to basically keep this pact with the devil. But her brother was killed because he was among the children in that church. She stabs him. Her hand gets cut and then ripped off. So that's the hand cursed upon the land and everything. And then she confesses. See, they're calling me about the confessions right now. They're calling me. They want me to confess. How are the 1600s calling me about this? So anyway, she will, she'll shadow him forever. I'll never let you go. I will never let you go, Jack. I'll never let go. And then her friends end up burying her in another grave. And then we smash cut to current day. So, okay, we're back in the current day. Dina says, hey, this is what happened, Josh. We need to take care of that. Sheriff Good is actually evil. Yeah, duh. Thanks, Dina. We figured that out well before. So, basically, since he's related to Solomon. King Solomon, if you will. So they steal the cop car because that's the first thing you do. They steal the cop car to draw attention to yourself, but they had to get back out of the woods. Even though they didn't have, they had keys for their car, whatever. She ends up telling him about all this stuff. They go back. It turns out that the goods, the goods, home of the goods, maybe we take your order, were, basically cursing Shady Side while Sunnyvale got everything good. And, good, if you'll see what they did there. And Shady Sires were being offed by certain people being picked to just go mad and kill. They tell Ziggy that it was good. She's like, I just called him. Because they had a connection from 1978. He helped save her, even though it was obvious that he was going to be the evil one. And what want to help us kill Sheriff Good? They say the custodial guy, the comic relief guy that's barely been featured in, that much of like either of the two movies. He's featured briefly, and then he was featured a little bit more here near the end, and I kind of wish he was just featured a little bit. Not that there's anything against the actor, but the character was shit. So, they're going to carry him because that was referenced in 1978 where she was making a bucket to dump on that girl, Sheila, basically to, like, haunt her or get back at her for bullying her. Oh, Carrie, cool. They reference a whole bunch of movies. And there's a half-possessed white girl in my mall. Cool. And the bad comedy from 1994 rears its ugly head. And I was already not sold on 1666 on that part. And then the 1994 comedy came back. And it just didn't work. So, Ziggy has flashbacks because the tree's there. And that was the tree where she was at when Camp Nightwing was formed. And that mall must have really just been built over that camp like after a few years because it looked like that mall had been there a bit. So, because Josh is a big nerd, he keeps saying up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, start. The Konami code for extra lives, Contra, and Super Castlevania and stuff like that. Maybe it was was it Castlevania or Super Castlevania? Anyway, rah-rah speech that Dina gives, and we gotta do this, and we gotta trap these killers inside these stores, behind these gates, splash good with the blood, and then it turns out that, this will end up saving. It's the magic blood that they got from somewhere, and they will end up splashing him, marking him, and that will send the killers after him, and it will end this curse. Because supernatural killers are not necessarily smart. So, drop your weapons. Oh, it's super soaker death because a couple cops get killed. Because they're using super soakers. I remember super soakers. I had one. Wasn't very good. It kind of broke after about 6 months. It wasn't that much money, but still. So, the killers come out eventually, gradually, at some point, glacially even. And then the easily bamboozled killers, they get trapped and everybody's, in there. Tag, you're it. Good gets marked, but then he gets some blood on Ziggy because she's not playing guitar yet. And then Dina basically, cuts herself to lure them away, and she gets underground because the caves are just right there. And right there is a goddamn, Devil's Mark because it was part of Camp Nightwing, so naturally it's right there because all roads lead to the fucking Devil's Mark being literally 50 feet from you. And the bloody killers attack each other because they get squirted with the blood. And naturally, because they're not smart, they just decide to just knife each other. So Sam, then clearly still possessed, escapes to try and attack Dina. And then it's like, we have to help my sister because they're out of blood. And they, and Josh and the comic relief and Ziggy not playing guitar, I will not let that go, decide to fight back. Ruby shows up and the weird kid shows up. Good. Tries a crazy speech thing like, my family this, we've been, this great family and done so many great things for this company, for this, place, for this county, for these cities. We want to continue this, and so what if you guys die? He then gets a good old-fashioned dose of homophobia and saying a D word about, lesbians I'm not going to say, and please don't say it in the comments. And the killers rise up because Ruby got shot, the one that was the killer, that Nurse Lane, it was her daughter. And, well, looks like everybody's about to die. Well, then Good is trying to attack Dina, and then Sarah rises up because Dina touches the cave heart, not Cave Story. And like, I will never let you go. And then Good gets stabbed in the eye, and all the killers vanish, and all that happens, and everybody's fine. Wait, we have to go to Dina. Well, she had a vest. The reason she actually got stabbed, but why did she not suffer? Because she had a vest of Fear Street books, and it was that point I said, okay, eat shit, movie. Eat shit. You deserve a downgrade just for that. Man, that was pandering. Endless pandering. I actually think I had a few of those books, so I think that annoyed me even more. That's a perfectly good waste of paperback. So the Devil's Mark and the names are gone, all that stuff. Shady side is cured. Suddenly they're in a weird house. It's a good house. And then it turns out Sunnyvale's getting cursed a little bit because the good curse is over. And then Sheriff Good is named as a serial killer because he obviously was. Ziggy hands Nurse Lane's his daughter or mother, her sister, her mother, her brother too. I think her mother because she was older. I'm not sure. Grandma, I don't really know, honestly. Maybe Nurse Lane was still alive. At this point, I stopped giving a shit. And then, because Josh got his arm broken during the whole fracas, he's got a cast, and this one girl's like, hey, chat with me online, 1994, the information superhighway. And then Dina and Sam are together again, and then the mall's back open, and then we go to the cave area where the book is still there, and somebody snatches the book and takes it away. Sequel hook. Oh, dear God, can you make it based on a better book series, than the Cheerleader Saga? Yeah, it gets a C. I've seen worse. I almost wanted to give it a D, but I was like, no, I'm going to give it a C, but this is clearly a weak way to end it. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.